Welcome back to Close Up. A new St. Anselm College poll released last week confirms there might be something real happening underneath all that buzz around Mayor Pete Buttigieg. Joining us to discuss this morning is Neil Levesque at the New Hampshire Institute of Politics. Thanks for being here, Neil.
Thanks for having me on.
We appreciate it. Let's take a look at the numbers really quick first. The top three. No big surprise here. Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, and Pete Buttigieg at the top here. You got Biden at 23%, Sanders at 16%, and then Buttigieg at 11%. Neil, what's driving this meteoric rise for the mayor from South Bend?
This is an amazing, rise for him. 33% increase in favorability in just, a few short weeks. I think what people really need to be focused on is what is he saying? What is the secret recipe of Pete Buttigieg that is causing him to rise so much? He's up against two, very well-known people, but everywhere you go, people are talking about him, and he's not running television ads or doing things that might prop up his numbers. He's just out there campaigning. This is very interesting.
You've been watching and involved in this process your whole life. What does he need to do next to capitalize on this, to make it last?
Well, he does need to show that he can maintain momentum and keep bringing this across the country. And so far, so good. He's not somebody who seems to be making mistakes. A lot of times when candidates go right to the top, all of a sudden they start to show their flaws, they start to make mistakes. He's just so good on interviews, on television, his answers, and I think that's what a lot of people find refreshing.
And obviously the municipal aspect too. He doesn't have a Washington taint. There's no state level politics, so in some ways he's coming to this as almost like a newborn politician in a way.
Right, you can't call him congressman or senator. He's the mayor. Very, very different. It's an outside Washington aspect, so that might be attracting voters as well.
Let's look at the next tier here. We've got Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris and Beto O'Rourke. Elizabeth Warren at 9%, Senator Harris at 7%, and then Beto at 6%. What's the takeaway here? This is pretty good news for Elizabeth Warren. It's a good position to be in, I guess, this month.
It's okay. It's not great. It's not bad. She is in the same media market as Massachusetts, New Hampshire is, obviously, so people should know her here. And she's a very hard campaigner. She's spending a lot of time in New Hampshire. She's doing a lot of things, so that's good. And then when we get into Beto O'Rourke, it's interesting. One trip into New Hampshire. He's a failed candidate for the U.S. Senate, but so was George Herbert Walker Bush. The fact is that he's attracting a lot of attention, and he's right up in that top tier. Another fascinating candidate, I would say, along with Mayor Pete.
And when we see this sort of second tier, what do those candidates need to do to keep rising up there, to join Mayor Pete, I guess, on the way up?
Well, the good news is if you are going up, that's the story. And going down, of course, is a bad story. I think more trips into New Hampshire for both Harris and for Beto O'Rourke would be beneficial to them. If they can start showing some strong numbers here, I know that there's an idea, particularly for Harris, that, Super Tuesday in her home state of California will carry her through. But keep in mind that on election night here in New Hampshire, if you're not in that top tier, it's not going to, carry forward that much throughout the rest of the country. You need to be in that top tier as you leave New Hampshire.
Let's jump in on that. It seems like a lot of these campaigns, they really do reinvent the wheel every 4 years. They may look at those early states and they're like, well, there are going to be more delegates later, and they overlook the fact that there is so much attention placed on Iowa and New Hampshire at the beginning. It can change the entire trajectory of the race in just 1 week.
Absolutely, and you can't bank on the fact that just because a senator is from your home state that you're going to win that state. And a lot of times this is a failed formula. John F. Kennedy went to Wisconsin to compete with Humphrey, who was from the neighboring state, and he beat Humphrey, and Humphrey couldn't believe it, that he had lost to this person in a neighboring state. So that's really where the first instance of a candidate competing in a neighboring state can lose, and it's not particularly good for the rest of the campaign.
And one thing here, you see on social media, you do a poll, which is perfectly legitimate, and people have this violent reaction. Oh, this is too soon. What is this? Why do you think there is this sort of just upstart uproar that happens around every poll, which is just a snapshot in time?
Well, it is a snapshot in time. We're really early. This poll just is showing what's happening right now. What's interesting about this? We have an outsider, a mayor, who's 40 years younger than Bernie Sanders, who all of a sudden is at the top. I mean, he's third place right now. If you count Hillsborough and Merrimack counties, he actually is beating Bernie Sanders. So there's something going on here. There's some kind of secret sauce. 4 years ago, Scott Walker was at the top of the polls. Remember, at that time, Scott Walker was saying, I'm not going to cave to unions, and he was a very aggressive, in-your-face sort of campaigner, just like the eventual nominee, Donald Trump.
A lot to unpack here, and it's going to be fun to watch it unfold in the coming months. Neil, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.